This is Marty from Photoshop Arthouse. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to turn any flat design into an ultra-realistic mock-up by wrapping it onto complex objects like crushed aluminum cans. And the best part is that we can easily swap in a different label without redoing any of the steps. I've produced a PSD file so you can follow along. Its link is in my video's description or project files. The file includes a channel that defines the area of the can where the label will be confined, as well as the label itself I'll be using for this project. Feel free to use a different label if you like. If you're starting from scratch with a different object, the first step is to separate it from its background. To do that, activate any of the selection tools and click Select Subject at the top. In this example, I don't want the label to wrap around the top and bottom of the can, so I use the Curvature Pen tool to remove those areas. To save time, I've already done that for us and saved the result in the Channels panel. To make the label look like it's wrapped around the contours of the crushed can, we'll create a displacement map from the can. First, make a copy of it by pressing Ctrl or Command J. Displacement maps look best when they're slightly blurred, so go to Filter, Blur, and Gaussian Blur. Blur it 3 pixels. We'll save it by going to File and Save a Copy. We'll save it to our desktop for quick access. Let's name it Displacement Map as a Photoshop PSD file, and click Save. If you see this message, just click OK. Now that we saved it, we can delete it from the Layers panel by pressing the Delete key on our keyboard. Open the rectangular marquee tool and drag it over the object. We'll move each side of the selection as close as possible to the edge of the can. To do this, go to Select and Transform Selection. Go to the top middle anchor point and press and hold the Shift key as you drag it down to the top edge of the can without touching it. Repeat this for the other sides. Then press Enter or Return. Click the New Layer icon to make a new layer. We'll fill the selection with a color. Click the Foreground Color box to open the color picker and pick any color you like. To fill the selection with the foreground color, press Alt or Option plus Delete. Then deselect it by pressing Ctrl or Command D. Before we manipulate this rectangle, we'll convert it into a smart object so it could work non-destructively. Right-click or secondary click the shape's layer and choose Convert to Smart Object. Reduce its opacity so we can see the object underneath it. Next, we'll warp the rectangle so it conforms to the outer shape of the can. Press Ctrl or Command T to open the Transform tool. Click the Warp Transform icon and open the Grid menu. For this object, let's choose 4x4. Click on the grid to activate a point and drag it toward the edge of the can. By grabbing a points handle, you can distort that section of the grid. Continue adjusting the grid, moving the points and handles so the shape follows the contour of the can as closely as possible. It doesn't need to be perfect, just get it close without going inside the can. When you're done, press Enter or Return and increase its opacity back to 100%. Double-click the thumbnail of the Smart object to open its source file. Open the label and press Ctrl or Command A to select it and Ctrl or Command C to copy it. Open back the source file of the Smart object and press Ctrl or Command V to paste the label onto it. To resize it, open the Transform tool, go to a corner, and press and hold Alt or Option as you drag it in or out. We can also manipulate the shape of the label if we need to by pressing and holding Alt or Option plus Shift as we drag it. I'll cancel it since it's already sized correctly. Close the source file and click Yes to save the changes. Open back the crushed can document and change the blend mode to multiply. Go to Filter, Distort, and Displace. Let's displace it by 15 pixels, stretch to fit, and repeat edge pixels. Open the desktop and click the Displacement Map PSD file you saved earlier. Then click Open. Open the Channels panel. If you don't see it, go to Window and Channels. Control or Command-click the thumbnail of the Alpha 1 channel to select its shape. Open back the Layers panel and click the Layer Mask icon to make a layer mask of the selection next to the label. This masks out the areas of the label outside the white of the layer mask. Think of layer masks like stencils in which white reveals and black conceals. Next, we'll brighten the label on the can. Click the Adjustment Layer icon and click Levels. We want to confine the brightness to just the label and not the can nor the background. To do this, we'll replace the layer mask next to the Levels adjustment layer with the layer mask next to the label. To do this, press and hold Alt or Option as we drag a copy of it up on top of the white layer mask. If you see this message, just click Yes. In the Levels panel, for this object, I'll drag the midtones to 1.06, and I'll drag the input white level to 217. Lastly, we'll reveal some reflective highlights on the can. Double-click an empty area of the label's layer to open the Layer Style window. We'll use Blend If to blend the highlights of the can through the label. Basically, Blend If uses the luminosity of layers to blend them together. The current layer is the active layer, which in our case is the label, and the underlying layer represents all the layers under the active layer, which is the aluminum can. The underlying layer controls how much the can will punch through the label based on its tones. Dragging the underlying layer's white slider to the left makes the can's lightest tones punch through the label. We can feather the transition by placing our cursor in the middle of the slider and pressing Alt or Option as we click it. This splits the slider in half. Dragging the inside half of the slider toward the middle punches the highlights of the can through the label smoothly. This is Marty from Photoshop Arthouse. Thanks for watching, and remember, be safe, be kind, and I'll see you next time.